We know where the supplementation is going. We have heard about the need for the supplementation and how it will be used not only to stimulate the tourism sector, but to also assist in the cultural sector for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And with those few words, I thank you.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Honorable Minister of Tourism said that budgeting is a forecasting exercise. Well, it is clear that this Minister of Finance does forecast like Sigoni, because that is why we are here. His forecasting failed, his forecasting flopped, and now we are here asking for more money while you have not even accounted for the money that you spent before. The Honorable Minister of Tourism gave a detailed analysis and clear, precise content of the way the money will be spent in his ministry, the contracts, the value to the people, and that's how a minister should account for taxpayers' money. I'm glad the Attorney General, the Honorable Attorney General, has arrived, because he could take example from his colleague about how to account for money spent by his ministry and not tell the population that it is a secret. So I commend the Honorable Minister of Tourism. But he said that People's Partnership ministers were flying all over and we had nothing to account for and so on. But his Prime Minister is a pilot. He never here, and we can't see anything. But you said it, sir. So he said it. I don't know.
So again, it's the wind up. He's now starting his contribution and creating the context. Continue, Senator Roberts.
Yes, I mean, I sat quietly. I sat listening to my colleague, the Honorable Minister. While his colleagues weren't interested and they were chatting and disturbing him, I was listening. I don't know why he's disturbing me already and now start. The Honorable Minister also said that the PNM diversification plan, this PNM, this iteration in 2024, that the population can stand and applaud the PNM for creating Carnival. Honorable Minister, Carnival a long time. Diversification means creating new revenue streams. You didn't know it used to have a thing called Cambule? We have Carnival, Carnival sweet, Carnival is great, Carnival generates revenue, Carnival creates jobs. And for the minister to come here and say that this year was a bumper harvest, it's not true, because a short Carnival. And in a short Carnival, many promoters lost money. I mean, Stink and Dirty made money because the Honorable Minister got a complimentary and he went down there and lime, so he looked good. So I agree that there were lots of successful events. But for the PNM to come to the population and say, vote for us, there is Carnival. I mean, that is just shocking. They are bankrupt of ideas. That's why we are here coming to ask for more money after they didn't account for the last set of money. And for the final point for my Honorable Minister of Tourism, while he accounted very well, I want him to explain at some juncture why on May 28, May 29, 2024, the North Stand where others go and listen to Pan is now coming down and ban launching for Carnival in June. But they're now taking it down to put it back up in November. I'm sure that does not make sense. There must be a better way to spend the resources of the country than to take down a North Stand and put it back up 5 months later. So I think he should address that. It never ceases to amaze me. First and foremost, the Honorable Minister of Finance said that this part of the appropriation and so on is supplemental part of it. He gave us a great analysis and different amounts of expenditure and what is discretionary expenditure, direct expenditure, and so on. Very good. It was very good. But supplement, when someone hears supplement, it means that after you eat a nutritious meal, X amount, 30% protein, 60% carbohydrates, 10% fat. You require extra supplements when you're going to exercise. You're going to lift iron to build up your body. So after you've done a great job, you supplement But when you have failed, when you have collapsed, when the economy is shattered, when we are bankrupt, how this could be a supplement? We starving? You don't start with supplement. You start with a good meal. In this instance, a good meal would have been diversification, revenue streams, impact on the economy, job creation. Them come to supplement starvation. It never ceases to amaze me that a PNM government could bankrupt an oil and gas economy for the second time. So it's not a fluke. They did it. They did it up to 1981. And then other people had to come in and save the economy and go to the IMF and so on. Well, we coming around again. So the people better vote quick because they're boasting that the population must applaud that the PNM didn't go to the IMF. But if the population leave them there, the IMF door waiting like honey paper for fly. The second time they bankrupted the economy and they come into the Senate and the Parliament and act like them more vexed than we. The Honorable Minister of Energy stand up there and angry, but he in charge. He has decimated the energy sector that has existed since 1908. If they left it on automatic pilot, we would have been good. But they went and impact. They went and make decisions. They meant and mash up the whole thing. And now they come in to say, wait till 2027. If Maduro good, we go be good. I don't think that the population can hold on to that. The signs of a bankrupt economy, because I heard the Honorable Minister of Finance saying that we're doing well. Then we may have hard times, but we're doing okay. And we have negotiated well. And especially the Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Energy, they negotiated because Henry Hub was too low. And they went and they looked at Hong Kong and Japan and Dutch ratings, and it was up at $17, $18 US per MMBTU. It skyrocketed to $79 per MMBTU. And the net back price, we did well. But the Honorable Minister of Finance, who is normally very detailed, very efficient, as he read, because I'm waiting for the end of the story, because he gave me all the introduction. He gave me the lead up, and I'm waiting for the climax. I was waiting for him to tell the population that due to the great negotiation, due to the unbelievable talks and flights all over, that they got from their negotiations a net back price. If I see, I'm now studying with my daughter, 9 years old, she have exam next week, and she doing mode and mean and median. Okay? So if I say that the Honorable Minister said there were 4 prices that they looked at, and those 4 prices are above 17, 18 US per MMBTU. If I use the mode, then Trinidad and Tobago should get something about 17 or 18. If I use the mean, then we should get approximately, if it's down to 2, the Henry Hub is down to 2 US, and they up at 17, we should get about what? $9.50. I mean, I say, well, oh my goodness, thing looking nice under this PNM. Then the minister failed to tell us. He just said, well, we did all of this, but it might be so. But really and truly, we still stuck at a netback of $3 per MMBTU. So what was all this song and dance? What was all the discussion about this large price over yonder that does not impact us? The negotiations did not impact us. They have done nothing, and the energy sector and gas production and gas price has been decimated. So that is what we have to do. And when we see that the economy is bankrupt, they say we're not bankrupt. They save us from the IMF. Well, how they saved us from the IMF? And the Honorable Minister of Energy came here and read out from some report that the IMF gave the Honorable Government. But the problem is, anybody knows, garbage in, garbage out. The IMF can't go down and subpoena our books and get into our accounts. The Auditor General can't even get our accounts. So what the IMF will do is take information from the Ministry of Finance. So whatever them tell the IMF will analyze that and tell us. But the problem is, we live in here. The IMF not living here. So we know the truth. We know the pain. We know the sufferation. But the PNM says that everything good because people going in a reggae concert Saturday. That is what they believe. The reggae concert bus, because only about 8,000 people, they needed 10,000 people to break even. But they need 10,000 people to break even. They're less than 10,000 people. Therefore, it busts. They say the economy big because Trinis like reggae. That is the PNM. This cannot be serious. The bankrupt economy, and I want these citizens out there, if the PNM does not want to hear, how do you tell if an economy is bankrupt? We're struggling to pay wages. We're hearing the Minister of Finance all over the place saying that since 3 years ago at Spotlight on the economy, where they were discussing their brilliance and so on, that they have to borrow money to pay wages. They can't pay back pay. They can't pay more than 4%. They have to go 0.010100110. That's what they said. So that is a sign of a bankrupt economy. Borrowing to meet recurrent expenditure, drastic collapse of credit rating. In 2014, 2015, our credit rating was AAA plus. It's now BBB minus, and they celebrate that. They celebrate that. I never know you could move from swimming up 50 meters in 21.5 seconds, get big and fat and swim the 50 in 31 seconds and say, whoa, I finished the race. That's what the PNM does. They are boasting about a B credit rating. If your child who always getting A's bring home a B, you'll watch them and say, Popo, what happened? You're frightened. You didn't do good in the test. You would be worried. Not the PNM. They celebrate incompetence. Negative foreign direct investment. Negative. Money and all running from the PNM. Not only citizens, not only brain drain, not only our brightest staying out, but money investment is leaving the country.
Mr. President, 46-1, please. 46-1.
Okay. So, Senator, just always type back into which one of the ministries you're talking about that is getting the supplementation when you're making your points.
I'm talking about the Minister of Finance, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Tourism, because they did not diversify, they did not increase the money. I'm talking about all the ministries here that we're coming to give them more money. I'm even talking about the Auditor General. I am talking about Head 46. I'm talking about the Ministry of Education. I'm talking about public utilities that people cannot get water. I'm talking about the 570 million US from the Ministry of Energy that they say is for fuel subsidy, and the PNM find fuel subsidy is bad. Well, let me deal with that one time then. Fuel subsidy is bad? What world did I wake up in and say that every citizen who is born here, who have a birth paper here, whether it is handwritten because you're old like me, or whether you get computer-generated birth paper, every citizen owns a piece of the resources of this beautiful country, whether it is oil, gas, sand, sea, salt, carnival, culture. We all, no matter what creed, what race, we own a piece of the resources. A government, it happened to be them, they're nearly on the way out, but when we in charge, as a government, the resources don't miraculously become ours. We are just custodians there to manage the people resources. So, what is a fuel subsidy? A fuel subsidy, and this was determined, discussed each year that Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC were in government. I was a minister sitting there. They kept coming with this argument that the fuel subsidy is a drain on the treasury, just like the argument made here by the PNM, the Minister of Energy. Today, you would have believed that the fuel subsidy was like illegal guns coming through a porous border, the way he was speaking. Fuel subsidy, as Kamla Prasad Bisesa asked those who said that that is not responsible spending. She said, and I heard with my own ears, but I believe that it is. And she asked a question, and I asked the citizens out there, because there's a clear difference now between the economic policy of the PNM, which is fuel subsidy is terrible and save the money for PNM's discretionary spending, which I'll deal with just now, and the UNC says a fuel subsidy benefits everybody, from baby in womb to a 100-year-old woman, whether you have car or not. It keeps prices down. It keeps transport costs down. It keeps bus price down. It keeps maxi price down. It keeps price of goods down. It keeps pharmaceuticals down. The knock-on effect and the inflationary pressures put by removing a fuel subsidy impacts each and every citizen. But the PNM come to tell me today through the Minister of Energy, and not as vociferously, through the Minister of Finance, that the fuel subsidy is irresponsible spending. Well, let me tell you something. You know why they talk about fuel subsidy? Because the fuel subsidy, it would come out direct. The Honorable Minister told us about direct charges. They can't impact that. No government, whoever in charge, that had to pay. So salaries, that's why they don't want to increase public servants. They don't want to increase police. They don't want to increase army. They don't want to increase fire. Because once you increase that, you had to pay that. And when you had to pay that, if the pie is of a certain size and the element going to the people is large, then the government has less money to spend on discretionary spending. So the Honorable Minister of Finance said that he's a responsible Minister of Finance and a responsible Minister of the PNM government. The Honorable Minister of Energy said the UNC and the People's Partnership irresponsible because fuel subsidy and wage negotiations and back pay and grants and food cards and so on. We are irresponsible because we put the money for the people. Well, let's see the PNM's discretionary spend, because when you come here and you cut, and what was most notable today is the Honorable Minister of Energy said, we knew when we were budgeting, when we were forecasting, that there would be a need for $500 million for the fuel subsidy. We knew that, but we left it out. He said that on Hansard today. What? That's what he said. So they knew. So they left it out to try and look good last year, September, because they know they're coming now for supplemental appropriation. And so they spend the money on their discretionary spend. And let's see what some of their discretionary spend is. $300 million on Bridgman's Farm. What the Prime Minister, the Honorable Prime Minister, described as crooked money. $600 million on 2 cutlass vessels that nobody asked for. $233 million to keep Atlantic Train 1 open for 2 years, but it was kept maintained for 4 years.
46.
That is their discretionary spending,
46.
wasting $500 million.
46-1.
Yes, none of that is related to the supplementation or the original appropriation
So,
for 2024.
Senator Roberts, you spoke to this particular line item, which is the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, the amount of money that is being supplemented by. You even tied it into direct spend versus discretionary spend. I think you've made your point on the discretionary spend, so you can move on from that.
Thank you, President. I appreciate that. But I just want to, I wouldn't show you, but you see it's 2 pieces of paper. It's plenty discretionary spend that is totally useless. So don't tell me that a fuel subsidy is bad spend when you want to build a health ministry, and part of the Ministry of Health funding here. Part of the Ministry of Health, a supplement from head 30, whatever head from Ministry of Health, is for the payment for the administrative office of the Ministry of Health. That they did a meal-serve deal, and we have to pay over $400 million over 18 years for a building that is worth $165 million. That is in the Ministry of
Point of
Health.
order.
Yes, go ahead.
There's no appropriation for Milshove in this or the original 2024 budget.
So, again, Senator Roberts, you're talking about the Ministry of Health and the supplementation to the Ministry of Health, and the same point is being made in relation to the money that is being supplemented for this ministry. Yeah. Call out the head, call out the amount, and then talking about the money that was not spent or was spent elsewhere. That entire point has been made regardless of which ministry you're calling out. Yes, so what I'd ask you to do is come in with a new point, because that point has been made.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. This point that I'm making here on Head 28, Ministry of Health, the Honorable Minister of Finance, who went through every head by head. He was good going on the head, right? He said that part of the money for the Ministry of Health was to begin paying this public sector, private sector deal that they created for the construction of the Ministry of Health Administration building. And that is what I am discussing here, that the health sector, we can't get great service, we can't get health services, we can't get Panadol, but they are coming here to ask for a supplemental appropriation to pay for a building that is absolutely useless. It's beautiful, looks good, but it was unnecessary. And this links back to the point of the PNM's discretionary spending. They don't want to spend money on, as the Honorable Minister of Energy said, he said, the fuel subsidy, if we don't spend that, we will spend it on hospital, on education, on school feeding. Well, these PNM
point of order,
have no...
Mr. President. Standing Order 53(1)B. The point has been made and reinforced and made.
Okay, so that's the point that I was making, Senator Roberts. The fact that whether you call the Ministry of Health, whether you call the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, and as much as you talk about the supplementation to those ministries, the point that you're making, discretionary versus direct expenditure, it's the same for the number of ministries that you're making. So come with a new point. You could come off discretionary and direct.
No problem. What, Mr. President, what I would talk is about heart and soul, about policy, because the Honorable Minister of Energy said that some of this money will go to school feeding. Well, I hope that they add on an extra 20 million, because whatever the PNM is putting in school feeding, first of all, they have reduced school feeding from 76,000 meals per day, breakfast and lunch, down to 48,000 pre-COVID. Then now, they have reduced the quality of the food going to our children, where it is a policy that they get a piece of meat once a week. So I am saying, if you come here for supplement that. Tell me you're going to take a 30 million to feed my children in the country. Tell me that. But don't tell me you're coming to take millions of dollars to pay lawyers by secret. You're taking millions of dollars to pay rent. You're taking millions of dollars to pay for a building that a friend get a contract for. Come and ask for more money to feed our nation's children. Even Dr. Williams in 1981, Dr. Williams, the head of the PNM just before he died, school feeding program, produced 51,000 meals back in 1981. This iteration of the PNM is even worse than Dr. Williams was in 1981. They only provided 48,000 meals, and now it have no chicken, it have no beef, it have nothing. Children eating like vegetarian. I am a meat mouth. My children need protein. They need the muscles. Their brain needs fats and lipids to concentrate. So come here and increase that allocation for our nation's children. We continued. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Energy said that Trinidad and Tobago is an oil and gas economy. And they said that the People's Partnership was the worst and we were terrible. But you see, Honorable Senator gets confused, independent senator, because of politics. And I put to her that we are in politics, so we will provide facts, we will debate, and the PNM will debate. It is incumbent upon the independents to see who debating sense and who manufacturing evidence. Let me give you some statistics about the energy sector, because the Minister of Energy stood there for 40 minutes and said that he could not, without anybody possibly challenging him, that he was the greatest Minister of Energy in history and that the People's Partnership was woeful. Let me just read a little bit of statistics on the Ministry of Energy, because that's why we are here. We are under pressure. We need allocation. Our gas and oil provides us with money. Well, oil production, 2015, 78,000 barrels. Under this minister now, 38,000 barrels. In national gas production, BCF per day, 2015, 3.8 BCF, now down to 2.6. LNG production, 2015, 28.9, now down to 17.5. Ammonia production, millions of tons per year, 2015, 4.9 million tons. Now, 3.9 million tons. Methanol production, drilling activity. Let me move on quickly. 2,849 drilling days under the UNC. That is money, that is energy, that is money coming from the ground for our citizens. From 2,849 down to 2023, 1,227. In any comparison on statistics, not opinion, not yellow versus red, not politics. This is total abject failure. Yes. Energy sector, real GDP. That's what we're talking here today. That's what we're discussing, supplemental appropriation. Real GDP, energy sector, 2015, in TT, bubble billions, 61 bubble billion. In 2023, 42.3 billion. Jobs in the energy sector, jobs, money, people, taxation, more jobs, more tax bracket, more money, less coming here, less deficit, correct? Well, let's see. Any jobs in the energy sector, 2015, 20,500. 2023, 10,400. The PNM is half the man of Kevin Ravnarain. It's half the man of UNC. It is big pin versus small pin, clearly, and that goes on. So tell that Minister of Energy, do not come in the Senate without facts to confuse independent senators. I hope you heard those facts, my honorable independent senator. So while we banter, while we are in the political guile, they must be above and discern who's talking sense from nonsense.
Facts from fiction.
Well, when you talk about fiction, well, I sat down in this red house, that leaking on my bald head sometimes, and I heard the Honorable Minister of Energy talk about he and his PNM are going, and let me quote it properly, they are going to break the shackles of colonialism. Well, I didn't know we had a new Makandal Daga. We have a new Stokely Carmichael Kwame Ture. The PNM has brought the brand new Uriah Buzz Butler, Adrian Kola Rienzi, Bade Sagan Maraj. I couldn't believe what I was saying. We have a new hero, a new fighter for the downtrodden, a man who will get out there on the ground with the people.
Oh, yes.
But then he made an error. He talked about corruption and the UNC. That every time the UNC borrow money, that some went to a contractor and it passed through. So the honorable minister, well, in his case, it don't need a contractor, because since he is a minister, his brother's company get 5 billion, his father in charge of...
Have a seat. Have a seat. Again, just, there can be an imputation in what is being said, and even sometimes the way it is being said. Just be careful.
Honorable President, let me just say, I am not imputing any improper motive. I am just saying, when that Honorable Minister of Energy swore on the Bible to be a minister on September 8, 2015, since then, great luck has fallen and befallen him and his family. He should have played lotto 20 times. I am just saying he's lucky.
Have a seat. Again, that is called imputation. In other words, the average individual listening can impute by what you're saying a certain end. That is not allowed in the chamber. So just be careful exactly how you're saying what you're saying.
President, it's not about imputing, it's facts. Because since the Honorable Minister became a minister, he has had 50 recusals. A recusal from cabinet means that there is some benefit being discussed to you or someone close to you to come out of a cabinet.
President, point of order. 46-6.
It's Senator Mark,
46-6.
have a seat. Senator Mark, just allow the standing order to be raised. Again.
Standing order 46-6, Mr. President. With all due respect, it's not a matter of the member being careful. He's in violation of the standing order and he's persisting down the road.
Senator Mark, right? So, Senator Roberts, I get what you're trying to do and I get what you're trying to say. What I'm literally stating is that the average citizen can hear what you're saying and take from that something nefarious is occurring. That is where the imputation is coming from. Just be careful.
Oh, Mr. President, well, the citizens are very bright. I didn't say nefarious, I said lucky, but I will move on. The Honorable Minister of Energy and the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Honorable Prime Minister have said that we all, including us here in the UNC, and every citizen should stand and applaud the PNM for not going to the IMF. They said that we should all be proud and we should all say that the PNM has done such a great job that we, the people and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, are not in the clutches of the IMF. Well, I say to the PNM that who you should thank is not the IMF. You should thank KAMLA. Because when Kamala left the seat of Prime Minister, they can laugh, especially at a trade and industry minister who has overseen negative foreign direct investment for 4 years and can account for 26,000 US for some scanners. She can laugh. But anyway, the Honorable Minister of Energy said that the IMF, when he was quoting from his phone, the IMF was proud of the PNM for 8.5 months cover. Kamala left 14.5 months cover in 2015. He said that they were solid because the reserve requirements, there's no foreign exchange crisis because the reserve, US reserves was at 5.8 billion US. Kamala left it at 12.26 billion. So if the IMF applauding PNM, they should send off fireworks, not to distract the zoo for the UNC. He also said that the IMF said, don't worry, we also have the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Well, for a PNM to come and talk about that is an amazing thing. It's unbelievable. Because when Kamala left, it was at 7.6 billion US. Today it stands at 5.8 billion US. The lowest it has been since 2007. Even Patrick Manning, who they say they work beyond, was better than this PNM here. The Honorable Minister of Energy said, the government is not sitting back on its laurels. Well, I never know you could come last in a race and feel you win. What laurels it have? They don't even have people driving a Laurel from 1984. People have to park up their cars. There is separation. People cannot send their children to school. Every day, anywhere I go, they're saying, Douglas boy, or pressure boy, we can't take it. We can't go. $100 not lasting. But they are boasting that they cannot rest on their laurels because in their opinion, they are successful. Well, therein lies the problem. If you are a complete failure, but you feel you're successful, you will do nothing to change because you believe in your heart that you are good. And all the people are suffering because of their incompetence. Let me go on to this Honorable Minister of Finance. And I want him to say that he didn't say this today. Because see this? All of this was empty before he began speaking when the Honorable President said, question time is over at 2:28 and 22 seconds. And at 2:31, the Honorable Minister of Finance got up to start the debate on this appropriation. He started to talk about 2 clauses and the schedule, the heads, the items, the supplements. He went into great detail in all the supplements. I must commend him for that. He touched on nearly all. He went to head 23, to the Attorney General, 124.3 million, but he didn't tell us who the lawyers are. He didn't tell us why is it a secret. He didn't tell us what are these cases. In fact, they are trying to say that the UNC takes the PNM to court so much that they want to cry that they can't fight in court. We have to take them to court because they bring bad law. They bully the opposition. There are so many of them and so few of us that they don't listen. If they had listened to us when they were forecasting this budget, you would hear that I stood up here on 2 occasions, the previous budget and the last one, and asked the Minister of Finance, why are you taking such a risk? Why are you predicating the budget so close to the prices that are actually now? Why you don't leave a buffer? Why you don't leave a gap? Isn't that going to jeopardize our country if there's an exogenous shock and the prices fall and we will be in a nightmare? He didn't listen because he know everything. And everybody who disagree with him, let's talk nonsense. But yet his forecast failed, his budget failed. He can't account for the money. And he is the man who has brought nonsense. And that's why we are here to supplement. He talked about the Ministry of Education, did that meals for children, Minister of Health.
Senator,
Minister
you have
of
5 more minutes.
5 minutes? No. Let me go fast forward that I can't. Minister of Finance, there we go. He used the word volatile 6 times in his 43 minutes. Volatile, everything is volatile. He said that predicting natural gas prices is the hardest thing to do in the world. I beg to differ. The hardest thing to do in the world is to get a sensible statement out of that Minister of Finance. It has been 9 years of torture, 9 years of misinformation, 9 years of nonsense, 9 years of pressure, and the people want a respite. They want to vote. They want to see the back of this Minister of Finance. He said, everyone else talked and got it wrong. Right, the appropriation. Let me keep going. Let me read this because it's not only UNC. A report from the UE, but I guess this person too. Anybody who disagrees with somebody who fails and gets everything wrong is not bright, okay? According to the PNM. News, Guardian, BG7, Thursday, May 16th. Report from a UE economist. TNT is worst performing regional economy. Now we are oil and gas. When you have oil and gas, you're supposed to be a topper. That's like somebody with the skill set of Roger Federer not making it in Davis Cup. It's impossible. That's like Usain Bolt falling down and coming last in a running race. You don't do that. When you have oil and gas, you're supposed to be mashing up the place. We are comparing ourselves to countries who have done great with sea, salt, sand, cuisine, and bush. And they are claiming that they are good. The Professor Roger Hussein, University of the West Indies economist, Professor Roger Hussein, look who what, I'm sure he's not bright, right? Because only you all bright. But when you find the laser money, tell me. While Guyana's average annual gross domestic product and GDP growth was 18%, between 2015 to 2022, 18%. During that same period, Trinidad and Tobago's annual average real GDP growth was negative 2.7. Negative 2.7. I never see people go under. The only time negative is good in golf. And that even in golf, when the Prime Minister play, he does go over par because he's so good in everything. They continued. Hossain informed the Business Guardian that all data used in the report is from the International Monetary Fund. So here's the data that he gets from the International Monetary Fund, showing that the PNM has collapsed the economy, that they have bankrupted the economy, that there are no revenue streams. And then today, as I wrap up, because I can't go through all of this, I don't even know why I listen so much to this Honorable Minister of Finance, but I must commend him, because in another place, he spoke the truth under oath. I signed an affidavit saying that the economy is in desperate straits, that we need money. If we don't get that tax, if we don't scrape it out, we are going to fail. We are under pressure. He talked the truth in the court, but when he come here, it's a different story. That is why independent senators will be confused. Let me say, what is the truth? Are we in good hands, as the PNM says? Is there no sufferation because we like reggae and we go in a concert? Has the poverty rate not increased from 16.7% in September 2015 to 30.2%? Are our children doing better in school? Are we spending more on education? Is the crime situation under control? Are people feeling safe and secure in our country? When people go to the grocery, are they sure that $100, when you break it, it disappears like a 20? They say the blue moving like the mauve now. A long time when you crack 100, You could lime a little bit. You're looking good. Now you crack 100, you're looking for the next one. That is what the PNM has done. So under all of this talk, while they come to ask for more money, the problem is that the PNM asks for money. They've spent over $500 billion and nothing works. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs came and he's getting more money in this supplement. But we just had a joint select committee on PAN, but he didn't ask for no money to put PAN in all the missions. So another again, PNM promises never materialize. The one thing they need is an election to get rid of all of them and this Minister of Finance. The people are waiting. Thank you.